My name is Zoe Kadri, and I'm an Austin City Council member. I love the podcast. I listen to it anytime a new episode's up. It's always on my list of things to do in the morning when I'm on my way to work. Progress Texas is badass.
It's Wednesday, January 7th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. The Texas Education Agency, or TEA, may be on its way to one of those FAFO moments, if you know what I'm saying, as Texas teachers push back. J. David Goodman at the New York Times says the Texas chapter of the American Federation of Teachers has filed a federal lawsuit against the TEA and its widely reviled commissioner, Mike Morath, alleging that state-directed investigations into the private social media comments made by dozens of Texas teachers regarding the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk violate those teachers' First Amendment rights, and that the state's effort to punish educators for criticizing Kirk or his views constitutes an unconstitutional viewpoint-based restriction on speech, especially since most of those comments were made outside of work hours on personal accounts. Governor Greg Abbott and a host of other MAGA electeds have called for the firing of these teachers via efforts to distort their personal takes on Kirk and the rhetoric he used to gain fame into claims that these teachers were somehow inciting violence. And the Texas AFT lawsuit finally pushes back with this legal complaint holding that these state government investigations illegally harassed Texas educators and suppressed their constitutionally guaranteed free expression. The TEA has confirmed that nearly 100 teachers remain under investigation even today, following hundreds of complaints about the social media activity of Texas teachers. The majority of those complaints fielded after state officials goaded students and their parents to turn their teachers in. Isaac Yu at the Houston Chronicle elaborates that while many complaints against teachers in the Kirk probe have been dismissed, being placed on even initial review in the matter came with a do not hire flag placed on the educator being investigated. Randy Weingarten, the president of the National AFT, came to Texas to support the state chapter in this lawsuit. She called the TEA's actions at a presser yesterday a, quote, state-sponsored attack on teachers. Mr. Morath decided to exploit the tragedy of Mr. Kirk's senseless murder. His actions were a transparent effort to smear and shame educators, divide our communities, and deny our kids opportunities to learn and thrive, unquote. Texas AFT President Zeph Capo has estimated that between 50 and 100 of his members have reached out to Texas AFT for support related to the TEA probe. We have a conversation scheduled for later this morning with Mr. Capo. Watch this feed later today for an update. Unsatisfied with messing up our teachers and our schools and our universities, Texas is also taking steps to derail our law schools. KERA in Dallas reports that the Texas Supreme Court has followed through with a plan announced last year to eliminate American Bar Association oversight of our law schools, part of a continuing Trump and MAGA push against the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that the ABA supports. Deans from 8 of Texas's 10 ABA-accredited law schools opposed abandoning the accreditation system back in July, arguing that move would hurt lawyer mobility and increase costs. While Texas paves its own way, most other U.S. states still require a degree from an ABA-accredited school to sit for their bar exam. So graduates from Texas law schools without ABA accreditation could end up legally barred from practicing in those states. Plus, major legal firms and federal judicial clerkships, both super competitive environments, frequently see ABA accreditation as a baseline filter for candidates to even be considered. Moving forward, a degree from a Texas law school may have just lost a lot of its value at the highest levels of the legal profession. Democratic Laredo Congressman Henry Cuellar has been in the news on reverberations from his pardon by Donald Trump on international bribery and corruption charges a few weeks back. The dear leader's in a twist over Cuellar's failure to either join Trump's MAGA legion by switching parties or to drop out of politics altogether as a gesture of gratitude for his pardon. Raquel Coronel Uribe at NBC says Trump has endorsed Republican challenger and Webb County Judge Tano Tijerina, who himself was first elected as a Democrat before defecting to Trump's GOP last year. Meanwhile, Henry Cuellar has piped up in support of Trump's adventures in Venezuela and has been calling for a Department of Justice investigation into the prosecutors who worked for years to uncover the international bribery scheme Cuellar was indicted for last year involving the government of Azerbaijan and banking interests in Mexico. Listeners in CD28, including Southeast San Antonio and Laredo, should be advised that 2 Democrats are on the ballot against Henry Cuellar in the primary this March: businessman Andrew Vanteen and military veteran Ricardo Villarreal. And Venezuela and Texas's role in that situation as it plays out remains in the discussion this morning. Paul Kobler at the Texas Tribune says Texas oil companies have been more or less silent so far regarding Trump's insistence that they would provide the capital and muscle for the rebirth of Venezuela's oil industry, considering the massive size of investment that would be required and the general instability of the situation, which tends to turn off investors. Not only that, but global oversupply and stagnant demand exist in the market at the moment, suppressing oil prices, not an environment in which new sources are immediately needed. And Grist is out with another reminder of why we should be pivoting away from fossil fuels and towards clean, renewable energy anyway. All the stuff we know about, from global climate degradation to local environmental toxicity to short and long-term health risks for people living near petroleum infrastructure. Grist writers remind us that Texas is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than Saudi Arabia or the global maritime industry. Our oil, gas, and petrochemical operations discharge tens of millions of pounds of toxic pollutants into the air each year, comprising almost 1/5 of such releases that exist in the United States. We are the nation's top emitter of the carcinogens benzene, ethylene oxide, and other dangerous oil production byproducts. We account for 75% of the petrochemicals made in the U.S. We are a primary engine of the world's plastics industry, clogging oceans and landfills and eventually infusing every living thing on Earth with potentially dangerous microplastics. As things stand now, with Republicans in control of our state and the oil industry in control of Republicans, Texas is one of the major threats against the future survivability of our planet. And the upcoming election in November looks more and more like the last chance to turn all of that around. See the show notes for a scary read on all of that from Grist. Early voting in the March primary starts on February 17th. That's real soon, y'all. See the show notes for a Texas 2026 March primary ballot form from the Texas Tribune that you can use right now with your home address to see who will be on the ballot in the primary in which you choose to vote. A great tool to use to look into candidates and actually know who they are and what they're about before you head to the polls. Super handy and something you should start looking at right now if you haven't yet. And of course, everything you need to be sure your registration is in order can be found at govotetexas.org. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared bold progressive values. And that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded disinformation machine. While we enjoy the support of hundreds of partners, chances are that you, dear listener, haven't joined the team yet. If you're a regular, let's get you on board right now. A huge thanks to monthly supporters Christine Huber, Jessica Ely, and Danette Mann. We appreciate all of you very, very much. Join them and the team at progresstexas.org. Our podcast network is a #1 rated resource for insider access to Texas political news and is shared to our online audience, reaching millions through free, accessible video content featuring an array of Texan voices. And now we're expanding to include Spanish-speaking media to increase the reach of our progressive messages daily. Hit the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation towards Spanish media at Progress Texas today. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.